Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's dive right into this because we have an absolute ton of crucial information to get through in today's explainer. This past week in Washington produced a massive flurry of under-the-radar developments. We're talking things that directly affect your wallet, your prescriptions, and your day-to-day medical care. Because, Washington just loves to make big, sweeping changes when everyone is on summer vacation. Much of this completely bypassed the evening news, but it is absolutely critical for your financial and health planning. So we're going to break down exactly what happened, what these updates mean for you, and the specific actions you need to take right now. Let's get started.
So here is our agenda for today. We're covering Social Security check updates, the use of AI in Medicare approvals, some brand new Medicare cost reduction proposals, the ongoing weight loss drugs debate, and a really crucial scheduling warning for SSI recipients.
Section 1. Social Security check updates, boosting the baseline.
Let's start by looking at your potential baseline income. What's really fascinating here is the trend line we're starting to see. Just recently, on July 14th, the Senior Citizens League released its updated projection for the 2027 Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA. Now compare that to the 2.5% adjustments for 2025 and 2026. The current estimate for 2027 sits at a meaningfully higher 3.8%. If that holds, it would actually be the largest adjustment since those massive hikes we saw back in 2022 and 2023. But, okay, here's what you absolutely must keep in mind. This 3.8% is just a projection based on recent Consumer Price Index data. The final, official 2027 COLA won't be announced until October. It strictly depends on inflation data from July, August, and September. Basically, whatever happens to grocery, energy, and medical costs right now during these hot summer months, that directly dictates the size of your January check.
So the real question is, what does a 3.8% projection actually look like in real spendable dollars? Well, based on the current average Social Security retirement benefit, which is about $2,710 per month, a 3.8% COLA translates to roughly $79 more per month. For a single beneficiary, that adds up to roughly $948 more over a full year. And if you're a couple where both spouses receive benefits, you could be looking at well over $150 in additional monthly income.
Now, how does this all translate into actual legislative action? Well, also this week, the Social Security 2100 Act was reintroduced in Congress. This is probably the most ambitious Social Security reform proposal actively in play right now. And a huge piece of this bill is switching up the inflation formula itself. Right now, your COLA is calculated using something called the CPIW formula. That tracks the spending of the general working population. But the 2100 Act proposes switching to the CPIE formula. The E stands for elderly. It calculates inflation based on the actual spending patterns of Americans aged 62 and older. Because think about it, older Americans spend a proportionally much larger amount of their income on healthcare and housing, which, as we all know, inflate way faster than the general index. Because of this, the CPIE consistently produces higher COLA adjustments. It's simply a formula built for senior realities, not general worker realities.
And beyond just that formula change, the 2100 Act also proposes a flat 2% across-the-board increase to all existing benefits. That's completely separate from the annual COLA. It also sets a minimum benefit floor at 125% of the federal poverty level, specifically to ensure that no senior falls through the cracks. Now, I do want to manage expectations here for a second. Analysts give this bill a pretty low probability of moving quickly through the current Congress, mostly because it's been proposed a few times before without passing. But it is actively in play, and it is being heavily discussed right now.
Section 2. AI in Medicare approvals, the WISER program. Shifting gears to how your healthcare is being managed behind closed doors. On July 16th, the Senate held a vote regarding a highly controversial program called WISER. It stands for the Waste and Improper Payment Savings and Efficiencies Reform Pilot. It's basically an artificial intelligence-based prior authorization system, and it is currently active in 6 states: Arkansas, Florida, Illinois, Ohio, North Carolina, and Texas. Now, if you live in one of those states, listen up. For certain Medicare-covered procedures, an AI system is now reviewing the request before a human claims reviewer ever even sees it. The AI can approve it, flag it for human review, or just straight up generate an initial denial. Naturally, this sparked a massive debate in Washington. Democrats tried to repeal the program, pointing out that some patients are experiencing care delays and denials simply because an algorithm is getting in the way. Republicans, on the other hand, voted to keep it in place, and they did win that vote, arguing that the AI is incredibly effective at identifying fraudulent billing and that the efficiency savings totally justify the program. But hey, regardless of the politics, if you are in one of those 6 states, you need to know how to protect yourself and navigate this. If you've had a procedure delayed, denied, or returned with a really strange explanation recently, that AI program might be the culprit. But under Medicare rules, you absolutely have the right to appeal. So here are your exact steps. Step 1, note the delay. Step 2, pick up the phone and call 1-800-MEDICARE. That's 1-800-633-4227. Step 3, when you get on the line, explicitly demand your right to have a human medical professional review that prior authorization decision. Don't settle for the algorithm.
Section 3, Medicare Cost Reduction Proposals, Capping the Bills.
Next up, let's explore 2 new legislative efforts, both introduced on July 16th, that are aimed squarely at reducing massive out-of-pocket healthcare expenses. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the biggest structural differences in our entire healthcare system. Right now, if you're on Medicare Advantage, you are legally protected by an annual out-of-pocket spending cap. By 2026, no enrollees should pay more than $9,350 out of pocket in a single year. But if you're on Original Medicare, the traditional fee-for-service program, there is absolutely no cap, literally no ceiling. A hospitalization, a complex surgery, multiple follow-ups, those bills can just endlessly stack up. To fix this, members of the Senate Finance Committee introduced the Medicare Cost Cap Act. This bill would create a statutory maximum on annual out-of-pocket costs for Original Medicare beneficiaries. It would finally give them the exact same ceiling protection that Medicare Advantage folks already enjoy.
On that exact same day, Representative Tom Teen Jr. introduced the Medicare Premiums Reduction Act. Now, this bill specifically targets IMRA surcharges. If you don't know, those are the extra monthly Medicare Part B and Part D premiums charged to higher-income beneficiaries. For 2026, the source notes these surcharges hit single filers with income above just $16,000 and married filers above $212,000, adding anywhere from roughly $74 to $444 per person every single month. This new act proposes reducing or totally eliminating these surcharges from middle-income beneficiaries who happen to live in high-cost-of-living areas. It finally recognizes that what might look like a high income on a piece of paper is actually quite modest if you live in a really expensive city. Like the Cost Cap Act, this is still just a proposal right now, but it represents serious, tangible legislative momentum toward reducing what seniors actually pay.
Section 4, the weight loss drugs debate, also known as the GLP-1 bridge.
Let's shift our focus to some urgent health actions. Starting July 1st, a brand new Medicare benefit called the GLP-1 Bridge program kicked off. This covers obesity medications, stuff like Wegovy and Zepbound, for a flat $50 per month. But it has sparked a really intense medical debate. Right now, medical economics publications are actively arguing over whether an upper age limit, say 80 years or older, should be placed on this access. On one side, some health economists are arguing that the research base for these specific medications in frail or very elderly patients is actually pretty limited. They say the weight loss effects are less studied in this group, and warn that without age-based restrictions, the immense cost of these drugs is going to cause a massive budget strain. But on the other side, advocates strongly oppose any age cutoff. They argue that excluding patients based solely on age is just downright discriminatory. They point out that many seniors over 80 have severe obesity-related cardiovascular conditions, and these very medications could be a literal lifesaver.
So what is the takeaway for you in all this? Well, right now, no decision has been made, and the program currently has no upper age limit. So all eligible Medicare Part D enrollees who meet the clinical criteria can apply regardless of their age. That criteria means a BMI of 35 or higher, or a BMI of 30 or higher with qualifying conditions. But listen, because this policy debate is so incredibly active right now, if you're in your late 70s or older and you're considering applying, the most prudent choice is to start that process sooner rather than later. Get in before any potential rule changes lock you out.
Section 5, Crucial SSI Scheduling Warning, Budget the Drought. Finally, we have a highly critical action item specifically for anyone receiving Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. Let's really look at this timeline carefully. You got a standard payment on July 1st. Then you're going to get a second payment on July 31st. Now, this is incredibly important to understand. That July 31st deposit is actually your August benefit arriving early. Why does that happen? Because federal law requires that when a payment date falls on a weekend, and August 1st happens to be a Saturday, the funds have to be issued on the preceding business day, which is Friday, July 31st.
Guys, this is not extra money. It is not a summer bonus. If you spend both the July 1st and July 31st deposits before August even starts, your bank account will show absolutely zero new SSI deposits for the entire month of August. You have to mentally put a giant warning label on that July 31st deposit that says, "Do not touch until August 1st." You absolutely must budget for the August drought.
We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, right? From shifting inflation metrics and AI healthcare systems to brand new Medicare caps and a tricky little quirk in the SSI calendar. Everything we've unpacked today requires foresight. So, based on all the details we just walked through, I want to leave you with this final thought. How will you adjust your budget and your healthcare plans right now to successfully navigate these upcoming Washington changes? Take a close stock of your situation, make those phone calls if you need to appeal an AI decision, and stay ahead of the curve. Thanks so much for joining me